Good day, everybody. Michael Lanfield here. Thank you for joining me. I'm out in nature. As you can see, this is Peaceful Village, raw vegan healing community. I have a very important video that I want to talk about traveling and why I don't recommend traveling at all beyond what we know as a country. So this video is going to be very hard hitting. It may be a little lengthy, so please bear with me until I share my whole understanding about what's happening with traveling. Traveling there's two different types of traveling. There's traveling as we know it normally with buses, walking, airplanes, automobiles, this kind of thing. Trains, subways, this kind of stuff. So any kind of transportation. Now, human beings used to travel by feet, mostly just by feet, and before by boats also, or eventually by ships. Before, people used to travel like time travel. They used to travel teletransport while meditating. So it's possible to travel, to go anywhere in the world or within the universe. So it's possible to travel anywhere by using the mind, by going deep within and using the mind. So teletransport is possible. And you're able to visit people, other beings, whoever, and different places. So it's possible to do this. But majority of people travel by automobiles, trains, planes, cars, this kind of thing, subways, streetcars, this kind of stuff. So why I don't recommend traveling outside of the countries. Now, country is just a corporation. Someone or some people signed saying that this is a corporation. So basically, country is just a corporation. So when you say my country, it doesn't make really any sense because a country is a corporation signed by whoever, higher up. So why I don't recommend traveling? Well, let's think about this. Nowadays, in Europe, for example, the biometrics is happening. Okay, as anarchists, we understand that we don't want to be ruled by anyone. And so as human beings, we are sovereign. We are sovereign human beings, which means that we don't have anyone outside of our bodies, physically outside of us, that controls us, that can tell us what we can and cannot do with our bodies. We are sovereign human beings. Now they misuse that word, and people say that the country is sovereign and this kind of things, but it's not sovereignty. It really is not sovereignty, because all the countries basically are connected to one another. They seem separate and they do separate things, but it's basically one world when it comes to one country, basically, and one government. It's all been like that for a while now. Okay, so we don't want to be ruled. We're not ruled because we are sovereign human beings. We are not a nationality. We are not from any one country. I am a human being. I'm an earthling. I come from Earth. I don't come from United States or Japan or Korea or Somalia or any places. I am a human being and I come from nature, from Mother Nature. Now maybe I was born in a place that is called such a place, United States or whatever, and I was born in a hospital, but now I don't identify with any of that. I don't identify with my legal name because I'm not legal or illegal. I am a human, sovereign human being. And so, yeah. So when this is pertaining to many people that are being held up in airports, on the borders. Yeah, their rights are being taken away, all this kind of stuff. I remember a story being told of a group of friends that went somewhere, I don't remember, they were going over one of those country borders, or fake country borders, because really there's no lines. It's just lines on a map, basically. So country borders, and they had their car impounded, and they even wanted to take, the police even wanted to take their child away. So imagine. And that's possible because unfortunately they registered their child in society, and so with the government, and so the government has a right to do whatever they want if you're registered in society. I was registered in society. My partner was registered in society. And so technically they have a right because we're still part of society, but no longer are we using our fictitious names that we were given as children from birth. My name is different. My name is Michael Lanfield. It's not registered anywhere. It's a spiritual pen name, and I am here to stay. So getting back to the traveling. So around the world, it's becoming very, very hard to travel without identification. At some point, they're going to need more than just biometrics. Biometrics is everything, right? Depending on the country, depending on the place, they're going to take. Some are going to take more biometrics than others, but it can be anything from fingerprints to palm, the whole palm, and the palm says a lot. It can be your skin, it can be your blood. So they take blood from you, and who knows what they do with that blood, you know. They can take your feet prints, your footprint, your whole entire sole of your foot. They can take your iris reading. They can take your facial reading. They have super cameras now, and they can take all kinds of biometrics with the actual face. They can take different things. Okay. Who knows what they can what they can do? I mean, it's so powerful. Today is 2025, almost 2026, and imagine the technology that governments have. Even the so-called poor countries, less industrialized countries, they have still a lot of technology. They do. Now, still there are some restrictions. They don't. There's no technology that we know of that truly will be able to like cameras in the buses or in public places that can read your irises or things like that. There's no cameras, at least to our knowledge, there's no cameras that can actually do that yet. So, I mean, cameras that are on buses and things like that. You know, I'm not talking about cameras that are shooting right directly into the eye, like a computer camera or an actual still camera. I'm talking about web cameras or CCTV cameras, this kind of things. So there is less security, less privacy. And when we go over these fake borders, we have to deal with the legality of things. We have to deal with governments and police requirements and this kind of stuff. And really, this is restricting our freedom. So traveling nowadays is restricting our freedoms. Well, people say, "Oh, it's okay because I just get a passport and I obey and it's okay, I will get my biometrics read and all this kind of thing. But they're tracking us. They're taking more and more and more information from us. If we are free, if we are truly free, no one should be taking anything from us. They should not be searching us. No one has the right, even with a search warrant. They should not be telling us what we can and cannot do with our bodies and where we can actually walk. Well, that's not how it works in societies. In society, it doesn't work like that. In society, basically it works in the way that, hey, if you cross this imaginary border, you're going to be penalized. Unless you give us your passport and information that we require, like maybe bank information and how much money you have, and I don't know, some kind of vaccine, different types of vaccinations that we need, like yellow fever or COVID or whatever it is. So really, it's all about restricting our freedom. And in the future, who knows? I mean, it's getting to the point where they're going to require mandatory microchipping. When is it going to stop? They're going to force you to wear a mask. They're going to force you to have a microchip. They're going to force you to get 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever amount of COVID vaccinations. They're going to force you to get all kinds of different other vaccinations. They're going to force you to be transhuman, which is basically means trans means change or changing. So we're going to change ourselves from human to something else, to robot, to partial robot. Just imagine that happened in the movie I, Robot with Will Smith. That movie is powerful, and if you really look at it with open eyes, you'll see that there's very, very hidden messages, and it's actually starting to happen. It's starting to happen. People, wake up. Traveling is no longer, and by the way, when you travel and you go on an airplane, you have to pay most of the flight ticket is taxes. Taxes that we have to pay, otherwise we don't go on the airplane. And those taxes are extortion. It's basically a mafia saying, hey, you need to pay me in order to go on the airplane. You need to pay me whatever it is, 20%, 30%, 50%, 100%, whatever it is. You need to pay me a certain amount of money. This is extortion. This is extortion. This is a mafia business. Government is mafia. But I'm not saying that the people there working in these industries as police officers or military officers, I'm not saying that these people are truly horrible people. They're just conditioned and programmed like the rest of us to believe that this is how it is and that this is what we need to do, and that's all. And they just do their job. But underneath that uniform, these are beautiful souls that truly are thinking that they're just doing their job. They're making their money so they can buy their groceries, so they can pay their bills, their expenses. But once we start to raise our level of consciousness, then we're going to understand if we don't want to be vaccinated because we're free beings and we are free sovereign human beings, we don't want to be vaccinated for anything, not for COVID, not for yellow fever, not for whatever vaccinations. If we don't want to be part of the medical and pharmaceutical industries, not even dentistry, then we have to stop all of this. Because I know that myself, I don't want to be part of any of that. I don't want to be part of anything to do with society. Unfortunately, we're not growing all of our own food. And so the unfortunate thing is we're still relying on outside sources for our food. We're not breatharians or pranic yet. And so we still require food. But over time, that is slowly changing. We are going to towns in cities much less than we used to. We're yeah, we're not supporting the system as much as we used to. We're staying in our land more lengthy periods of time. And yeah, we're going probably once, twice monthly to town, and that's basically it. Now we don't travel. If we travel, we travel within the place called Ecuador, and ultimately, yeah, we don't have the inclination to travel anywhere further than that. It's possible. It's possible. There are many what people call indigenous people or aboriginal people. We're all indigenous to the earth, basically. But the term what we know, human beings say indigenous peoples, is the people like the native people of the area that's been living there for generation upon generation upon generation. They have ways to travel to nearby countries, to connected countries, just walking over rivers, over mountains. I've heard many stories of these things. And people say, hey, it's easy, just go over the mountains, and it's very easy, Yeah, we need to get rid of fear, and we need to instill more love, unconditional love. So just get rid of fear, one step at a time, get rid of fear. Fear doesn't serve us. And so those people that obey, and they go to the border, and they obey, and they give them people, the officers, their passport and all this kind of thing. I remember someone telling us that they had a lot of problems crossing the borders and all this kind of stuff, and that they had to pay so much money just to cross and to do this kind of thing, and they were deported back to their country and this kind of thing. And it's like, that's because you're part of the system. So now you have to obey the system, and you got to do what they say. And they're going to say, hey, I need this much money from you. And still, even then, they will deport you wherever they feel like. Or they will put you in jail, in prison. And they will say, hey, you do as we say, not as you say. You're not a sovereign human being. You're a citizen. You're a corporation under our control. So there's a lot of problems with traveling, and people still want to travel because traveling is wonderful. I tell you, I'm not against traveling. Traveling is our natural birthright. But today, it's not possible with all the restrictions. When governments are saying, hey, we need to put some vaccinations in us, you need to have these kind of vaccinations, you need to have microchipping, you need to have your biometrics, we need to have everything from you because you're ours, you're property of the government of whatever country. Hey, I'm not property of anybody. I'm property of Mother Nature, baby. I'm property of Mother Nature. I am a sovereign human being. Now some people might say, this is nonsense, you don't know what you're saying, this kind of blah, blah, blah. Hey, they're doing this. I heard from people, from friends of friends, from people that they're doing biometrics. They're taking all kinds of readings and things in Europe. In the European Union, they're doing this. Yes, they're doing this. They're doing this in many other countries. They're having cashless now. So in many places, including China, they're having, everything is digital now in China, or at least most of it, from what I understand. And many places, for example, from what I understand in Colombia, they're starting to use more and more digital currencies. And they're not accepting, in many places, they're not accepting cash anymore. Here in Ecuador, it's not like that, at least not in Amazonian areas. Maybe in the bigger cities, I don't know, but they're still accepting cash. Please, If you're still transitioning out of the system, stick with cash as much as you can. Stick with cash. Of course, there are times when we have to get things online and we have to, it's necessary to get things online and we need to use credit cards or whatever, but as much as possible, pay with cash. Tell people, hey, I'm not accepting this. And if they don't accept anything but digital currencies, just stop supporting that. Just say, hey, I'm going to somehow live in nature, in the tropics. I'm going to forget about traveling outside of the fake borders, country borders. I'm going to just be where I am, start growing all of my own food as much as possible, and rely less and less and less and less on society. We don't want to partake in this any longer. We just want to get out. In fact, the only reason we go to town is some of our food and to pay internet, basically. We have a few expenses that we have online, like our VPN from NordVPN. We have our website and this kind of thing that we still pay for. But slowly we're reducing all of those expenses. We're reducing. So traveling, let me just recap. When we travel nowadays, traveling is our birthright, first of all, right? We have for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we have been traveling and going over wherever we wanted and going all over the place. And but most of the so-called Aboriginal or ancestral people stayed in a given area. They did travel here and there, and they went to nearby neighborhoods, but most of the time they were staying in a given area, in a community, and they didn't travel very far. Maybe in those days when we went out from the tropics to colder climates, that's when we were exploring and experiencing different places. But at some point we just settled in a given area and we decided to grow all of our food and find whatever was edible in nature. Yeah. But today is 2025, 2026, and well, soon, 2026, and no longer feasible to travel. People say, oh, I love to travel and I love to do this and I love to do that, but they love to conform, they love to take vaccinations, and they will do whatever it takes to take vaccinations, to get their biometrics read, their fingerprints, their handprint, their eyes, all kinds of things. Take their blood out, whatever it is. I had my fingerprints taken before for traveling in the past. No longer do I do any of this kind of thing. Absolutely, I forbid to do any of this kind of thing. I'm a sovereign human being. So nobody has the right to do anything with my body. Nobody. Just nature decomposing. When I die in this lifetime and I go on to my next life, just decompose my body, and that's it. I think that's all I want to say for this video. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Michael Lanfield from Peaceful Village Raw Vegan Healing Community at peacefulvillage.org. O-R-G. Check out our website if you want to come here as a volunteer, guest, or future community member. You can definitely do that. Even as a visitor, we would love people to come here. If you're hungry and you really need something to eat or drink or whatever, we can help you. If you really are sick and you really want to heal with us, come here to heal. We love to have you. We'll do our best to do whatever we can. We don't have a big budget and a big food supply, but we'll do whatever we can to help those in need. Thanks for joining me, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.